السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وأسلم على سيد الأولين والآخرين وإمام الأنبياء والمرسلين، نبي الهدى والرحمة، نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم إنا نسألك يا حي يا قيوم يا بديع السماوات والأرض أن توفقنا لما تحب وترضى، آمين. اللهم إنا نستغفرك ونتوب إليك من السيئات والذنوب كلها دقيقها ودليلها. اللهم اهدنا لأحسن الأقوال والأفعال، لا يهدي لأحسنها إلا أنت. اللهم اصرف عنا سيئها، لا يصرف عنا سيئها إلا أنت. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the previous episode of this series, we started to speak about the basic principles to understand anything in our life. The basic principles to understand anything in our life in order to start to act upon it. So previously, or in the last episode, we gave the example of buying a new machine and you want to run this new machine, and we gave the example of buying a washing machine. You got the right manual for that machine. You started to read through that manual in order to understand the instructions given by the manufacturer. And once you feel that you have understood those instructions carefully, you will start to implement them again carefully, one by one. Let us say that the manual of instructions says you need to switch it on and you need to wait for 5 seconds before going to the next step. The next step is to switch button A on, and then you need to move button B, for example, to the right, and then you need to decide which program you need to use and you need to select it. The instruction says make sure that you don't put the machine on before making sure that the water line is connected, and make sure that maybe the disposal line is also connected where the water comes out. Now these are the instructions that has been given to you. You started to follow these instructions. Now you felt, as we say, that you have understood them, and you will start now to follow these instructions. You put it on, waited for 5 seconds, and then you move to the next step. Oh, the machine did not work. The machine did not work. What are you going to do? You will ask yourself, oh, have I got the right manual? This is the first question. Did I get the right manual? You will check the manual that you have seen. You will check the book that you have taken. And after coming up with a conclusion that it was the right manual, you will move to the next step. Did I read it carefully? Means, have I understood it correctly or not? And you will try to read it again to double check your understanding. Then, once you come up with the conclusion that you have understood it correctly, you will start to review the process, your implementation of the process. Switching it on, waiting for 5 seconds, moving to button B or button A, putting it on, and then put this switch B to the left side and select then your program. But you said, oh, the instructions are saying that make sure that you connect the line of the water before you switch it on. Oh, this was our mistake. We did not put the water line before switching it on. So we need to start again. So where did you go wrong? I'm sure all of us would say that we went wrong in what? In the implementation stage. You cannot accuse that the manual was wrong. You may accuse your understanding of the manual, but if you are trying to follow carefully and you have read it carefully, you have understood it carefully, and it was so simple, and then after following that you discovered that, oh, you did not follow this step, then the result that you had, which is the fact that the machine did not operate, is because of wrong implementation. And because of wrong implementation, you ended up by the machine not working, which means that a distorted implementation. I think the process now is clear. You need to get the right source. After getting the right source, you need to understand it correctly, and then you need to implement it correctly. So let us go back again. Correct sources of information, correct understanding of those sources, and then the third step is correct implementation of what you have understood, means correct implementation of correct understanding of the correct sources. These are the rational steps. Brothers and sisters, try to analyze anything, any activity you do in your life. You will see that you are following these steps by a way or another. You might follow them in a certain pattern. You might be following them in a different pattern, but it can be classified as the same process. So that's why we have to be careful about this. Okay? Now, let us come to Al-Islam. How do we understand Al-Islam? Do we follow the same process, or do we follow a different thing, a different process? As I told you, brothers and sisters, Al-Islam is a natural religion. It is a religion of our nature, suitable for our nature. It is not alien to our nature, whether Muslims or non-Muslims. Non-Muslims are not alien to Al-Islam. And that's why they can approach Al-Islam, they can understand Al-Islam, and they can become Muslims as simple as that. So they should not say that, oh, it is an alien religion, it is an alien way of thinking, it is an alien system, we have to follow something different in order to just understand it. No, that is not true. You can follow the same systematic approach that you follow in running a machine, and then you will be able to, what? Understand Al-Islam. Okay, let us go to Al-Islam and examine whether we can follow the same step, or whether the same process is the process to be followed. We said that the first step is to get the right sources that talk about this machine. Now, Al-Islam, we need to get the right sources of Al-Islam. Is that true or not? I think all of us agree that Al-Islam came from somewhere. And we need to get the right sources of Al-Islam. We have no source about Al-Islam, that is not right. Had we have the wrong sources about Al-Islam, we will end up with a wrong conclusion about Al-Islam. As simple as that. Had we have a distorted source about Al-Islam, then we will end up with a distorted understanding or a distorted implementation. Remember this. That is very important. The second step is those sources, or this text, the text that talk about Al-Islam, the authentic text, the right text, the correct text, we need to understand it correctly. We need to have the right understanding of the right text. Does that make sense? Is that a logical, a rational approach? Yes, of course. Because you have a text. A text means something written. But that, what is written, has a meaning. So you need to understand the meaning, what the author wanted, the one who revealed this text, what he wanted us to understand from this text. So the next step is to what? Is to get the right understanding of the text, to get the right understanding of the source. That's fine. That is excellent. What is the third step? Do we move to the step related to implementation? Of course, yes. Of course, yes. We got the text. We had the meaning of the text. Now we need to implement what we understood from the text on the situation that we are facing. That is excellent. So we have 3 steps: getting the correct sources of Al-Islam or about Al-Islam, get the right understanding of those sources, and then implement the right understanding of the right sources. So we have 3 steps again: correct sources, correct understanding, and correct implementation. Correct sources, correct understanding, and correct implementation. Now you might say that the first 2 steps are the most important steps. Yes, that's fine. But we have the third step, which is maybe the conclusion of the first 2 steps, which is the step related to the implementation of what you understood. Let us have a break, and inshallah we will continue after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Islam for all. For me, for you. For the Arabs, non-Arabs, male and female, poor and rich, and also for the black and white. Look at the beauty of this word, Islam, Islam, Islam. I-S-L-A-M. I shall love all mankind. So, welcome to Islam, to Islam, to Islam.
Appreciate the uniqueness of Islam that attracts everyone towards it in Islam for All, today at 4 p.m. and repeat telecast at 1:30 a.m. Saudi Arabia on Peace TV.
Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
Dr. Lawrence Brown.
They all believe in one God and the prophets of God. Then where is the difference? Which is the religion of truth? Which is the right path? Which is the true revelation? Travel the chain of revelation with me, and let's find the true religion of God.
Join Dr. Lawrence Brown in Interfaith Issues every Sunday at 4 p.m. and repeat telecast at 1:30 a.m. Saudi Arabia on Peace TV. Let's discuss issues.
Welcome to Let's Talk. I'm your moderator.
Omar Dunlap.
Does Islam allow terrorism?
This is unfair and this is not true.
Dr. Mamdouh Muhammad.
Islam is the religion of peace.
Because of the media, because of what's said about Islam.
Mahmoud Atiyah.
A huge amount of literature was written on the issue of what they call Islamic terrorism or fundamentalism is not a religious reason. It is a political, sociological.
Let's share ideas. Let's discover the truth.
We need to put our hands together to show the mainstream Islam to people.
To clear doubts, discuss problems, and find proper conclusions. A unique and contemporary chat show. Let's Talk. Next on Peace TV.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Just before the break, we were discussing the main steps to understand and implement Al-Islam. we said that the first step is to get the correct sources about Islam. The second step is to get what? The right understanding of those sources. Now, the third step is to have the right implementation of the right understanding of the right sources. Again, correct sources of information, correct understanding of the information, and correct implementation of the understanding of those sources. That is excellent. 3 steps, and also, as you can see, that those 3 steps are interconnected with each other. Getting the correct sources, getting the correct understanding, and getting the correct implementation. Now, brothers and sisters, why do we need to go through this classification? No, that classification is very important. Remember the example of the washing machine. We said that you got the manual, then you start to read it in order to understand it, and then you started to implement what you understood, and then the machine did not work. Something went wrong. Where? How? You need to know where you went wrong in order to correct it. If you fail to understand where you went wrong, you won't be able to correct yourself. Similarly, if we have a distorted understanding about Islam, a distorted implementation of Islam, a distorted practice, a distorted Islamic practice, or a distorted practice that has been attributed to Islam, where did this come from? So we need to go through these steps in order to see where we went wrong, and hence we would be able to correct it. Oh, that is fine. Now, we see around us that there are so many deviant groups. Those deviant groups, where did they go wrong? Did they get the correct sources of Islam, but they had the wrong understanding of those sources? Did they understood those correct sources correctly, yet when they come to the implementation, they did not implement them correctly? For sure, they went wrong in one of those steps, and hence, if they want to correct themselves, they should be able to identify where they went wrong. Let us take a practical example, a very practical example. You know, in so many non-Muslim countries, Muslims have a problem with halal meat. Muslims have a problem with halal meat. Okay, a brother with his wife, let us say Yusuf, went with his wife Salwa. Yusuf and Salwa, they went to the supermarket, and it is a non-Muslim country, and that supermarket is owned by a big company. It is a non-Muslim company. And they saw meat there. They would like to know whether this meat is a halal meat or not. So Yusuf and Salwa, they started to have a discussion in the supermarket. This is a practical example. Yusuf said to his wife, no, this meat is okay, let us buy from it and let us use it. Salwa said to him, and always sisters are a bit skeptical and they are a bit more careful. She said to him, no, this is a haram meat. He said, what? Haram meat? Can't we eat this meat? She said, yes. It is not a halal meat because it has not been slaughtered. Then Yusuf would ask her, what is your dalil that it is a haram meat? Salwa will tell him, Allah Jalla wa Ala says in the Quran, حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيْتَةِ. Al-mayta, made prohibited for you. Yusuf will think about this and he will say, حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيْتَةِ. This is a Quranic ayah, means an authentic source. And this ayah, this verse, says the mayta is prohibited. So it is clear that eating the mayta, the non-slaughtered meat, is prohibited. Okay, I agree with you. Then he will go to the third step. But he will say, oh, wait a minute. Is this ayah, is this verse from the Quran talking about this specific meat that we want to buy from this specific shop, then Salwa got stuck here. How can she prove her point? She used the ayah, or she quoted the ayah. Yusuf had no problem with quoting the ayah. She told him that the understanding of this ayah is this, and Yusuf has no problem with this understanding. But Yusuf has a problem in what? He has a problem in the implementation of this correct understanding.